body of water in the world and why?
Could you start? Because I didn't fully understood the question.
Oh, just what is your favorite body of water? Do you have a favorite lake or river or ocean or sea? And I'll pass to Lydia to get us started.
Oh, I'm chewing. Sorry. 1 second. Okay.
Maybe.
So,
okay, go ahead.
yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot because the city I'm in now, it feels like a huge body of water. It's just, I was thinking I could go to a desert after here to balance out because it's water everywhere. Like there's so many beaches and waterfalls, and it rains at least 3 times a day, and it's super hot. So there's always like water is always welcome. So that has been my favorite body of water, just the ocean here. And I'll pass to.
It's the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't expose how bad I am in geography. I'll look at the map. I'll pass to Juanca.
Yeah, I think the sea. I love the sea. I am from the Caribbean. I live 15 minutes from the sea, so yeah, I love the sea. I even had like this tattoo that is like a wave. It's my most recent tattoo, and I just love water. Al pass to Manu.
Thanks, Juanca. For me, it had to be the Pánuco River, which is in Tampico, which is a beach in the Gulf of Mexico on the state north of Texas. And it's very emblematic of that city, which I lived in for about 80 years. And I went fishing there, I went swimming there, I went just watching the waves and just on a boat with friends. And yeah, I have really good memories there. So it would have to be Pánuco River. And I will pass it to Enti.
Thanks. So I'm here in the Dominican Republic. Some people say we have some of the most beautiful beaches, and I'll probably agree. And if I had to choose one of them, it would probably be Playa Diamante, which is like Diamond Beach. I remember being there in vacations. I had like 7 years or something with my whole family. It was just really cool, really cool. Yeah, probably that one. I'll pass it on to Septi.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, I like river, like when you can do some kind of sport. I love actually doing kayak. In my village, you can actually do it, so everyone is invited in the summer. And yeah, like I like sweet water more than salty water. And yeah, when you can do some kind of sport, I think that's cool. And I'll pass it to Lauren.
Thanks, Septi. So the question is, what is your favorite body of water, right? I missed the question, but I got everyone's answers. Yeah, okay. I think I'm with Septi. I like sweet water better than salty water. And it sounds, I mean, honestly, you know, when I was thinking about it, I was like, Lake Ontario is where I grew up. So I like Lake Ontario, but Lake Ontario has like a really bad rap for being like a really gross, polluted lake. But there's still something about it. It's like in the wintertime, it'll like freeze over and get this like thick layer of ice that you can like walk really far out onto the lake on, and it's really beautiful. And like me and my brothers used to go kayaking, and I just like built such a relationship with this lake that I feel like Lake Ontario is my favorite body of water, honestly. No, I'll pass it to Griff.
Yeah, I love hot springs. I really love doing hot springs. There's so many. I have too many favorite hot springs. Just went to this one in Quito called Papayacta. But I think if I had to say best one or like just one, there's this one in California that's kind of off of Highway 395. It's like travertine or something, but it's super cool. It's like the hot spring water has been building up this like a mineral bed, and so the hot spring comes up on this mineral bed and then like just kind of floats down its own mineral path that it's like built and cool until it cools into like some little pools that are very natural and no one's ever around, and it's just this, I don't know, it's just this epic spot and amazing views. It's a magical, it's probably, yeah, I guess it's my favorite one, and it's free. It's just sitting there off the side of the road. I'll pass it back to Tam.
Cool. Well, I guess I'll go next and then pass to Bear to close us out. I think like Lauren, I had like my childhood favorite one, which is Coney Island, because we'd hop on the F train and that was like the body of water that we would swim in. But it's also a little gross, like Ontario. So I'd say like as an adult, I think my favorite, like the body of water that has impressed me the most is Lake Annecy. It's in the middle of France. And it has these amazing turquoise water, and it's surrounded by mountains, and then it has this tiny little village. So it's actually like extraordinarily peaceful and super rare. You know, it looks like Mediterranean water, but it's in a lake. So I say that one has probably now become my favorite. And NT, Bear, sorry, would you like to close us out? Yeah, I think we all went. So Septimus has prepared something for us, and the floor is yours, Seth.
Yeah, let me share my screen.
Okay.
And yeah, actually, like I'm going to do like a small presentation of how the numbers went of these three months on the TC. So yeah, like basically like we get this money from the Hajj, like $1.5 million, and then we split it in. Right now we have it split on 3 pools, and at 31 of March, like actually our treasury were looking like this. So overall, like we have like 1.2 million. I mean, we still have like the money on the reserve, but I didn't wanted to put it here because it's not money like we can use. But yeah, it's money we have, but it's just backing our tokens. So I mean, right now we as a common we have more money than at the beginning, especially like from the revenue we get, especially at launch. So yeah, basically like our revenue, like especially like at launch, was kind of big, 2.3K. But then I also wanted to share like we really, I mean, it's something like we all know, but so everyone is aware, like our revenue from the bonding curve is actually decreasing like 98% from January to February, and then from February to March, like another 72%. And then yeah, I here like I'm also talking about like the like how are we using the money. So 39% is being used in operations, 75% is in the public goods, and then 2.3 on others. Yeah, like I go more into detail. Like I mean that's actually like probably like my opinion, and actually like if someone sees something like that should be changed, like something like I feel like it's T, but then someone thinks, this is operations, like we could also like change stuff. But for me, like the three big operations we have in the TC is like these three working groups: transparency, stewards, and communities. And then also like when we are talking about the outflow, in this presentation, I'm not going through each proposal. It's something like I want to do like later, like when I go into detail of each proposal. But just so people know, like it doesn't, like here the proposal, for example, for transparency was for 3 months, but probably it will run like for 5 months. Very solid, I feel. Like we're using like 3.1K monthly, and we get like 70K. at least until now. And then yeah, on T projects, those are the T projects we fund during this period. This is like the sum of all of them. And I want to add here, like, gravity and then comms, because I don't feel like it's a service only for TC, but just for all TEs. And gravity is also a public. I consider it a public good when it costs his own commons. Yeah, and then laser tag. Well, the rewards actually there were no rewards distributed for this period of time, and then laser tag only had this swap with Gibet, which actually end up in 78K of liquidity. All this information is like locked at 31 of March. So yeah, like we gave them like this amount of TC, and they gave us like this amount of Gibet, and then we make our pool. They made our pool, and this is like the final result. And then yeah, on others, like we had this. I was considering this other. Like I don't feel like they fall into neither operations. I mean, this one could kind of fill in, but since it was like one-time thing. Oh, it should say others here. That's a mistake. And then yeah, this is the outflow we had for others. And then again, like this is kind of like, because our inflow this quarter was 206K, and the math of the commons running for 4.0.5 years, it's kind of unrealistic. But then at the same time, like we generate this amount of revenue this quarter, and then yeah, then I just divided like inflows, outflows, and then yeah, how long it would run. Like I make the math, but then again, like this is not super accurate, because this also can change. The less money we have in the common pool, the harder it is to pass proposals. So probably like next quarter, like we are going to use less money than this one, just because of the way conviction voting works. And then yeah, like actually, like I just wanted to everyone see, like, yeah, like especially like the revenue feels pretty bad to me, at least. Like it went down like 98%, and then, which, I mean, the first month is expected. Like, okay, you did the launch, then okay, like the revenue is, so it's expected to go down. But then what what was more worrying than me, like, is March, from February to March, like it went down 72% again. So yeah, like I wanted like us to chat a little bit, like for new revenue streams, or and also like have a little chat, like how do we feel like our conviction voting? Like, should we have like harder, like make it harder to have like more curate proposals, or yeah, like I actually wanted to open the floor so we can just discuss. Maybe like we could talk about like for new revenue streams, and then we talk about conviction voting. So maybe like we pass around for revenue. I'd like to hear from Edu.
Hello, Septi. I just joined, so I will pass it on to Tam, and then I can get back at you.
Okay. I mean, I'll say I wouldn't. There's a few things I'll say. There's a lot. I wouldn't harp too much on the difference in revenue coming in and coming out, like the inflow and outflow, only because the revenue was just the initial buy, right? That's the entire revenue.
I mean,
So that was always known to be like a one-time deal. That wasn't going to be a recurring revenue stream. So that was more like almost like an initialization condition than it was like a revenue stream. So I would probably say, it's our revenue is zero, and we should figure out how to get it off zero. More than like look at comparing, those numbers in particular. But still, I And then I guess I would probably put some part of gravity and some part of comms in operations, because while it's true that they are a public good, they are also part of our operations. Like we wouldn't be at, like, TEC wouldn't necessarily be able to, like, if they stopped being funded as a public good, they'd have to be funded in the TEC somehow, whether it's as a public good or as an operation cost. I guess what I'm really interested in is, like, what does this look like? Did we say what our current pool is? It's 799K, I think, on slide 2. And if we're looking at something like, we're saying there is 110, 166, right? So let's say 266. So we're basically looking at 2 or 3 more rounds like this before the commons pool is completely empty. So I'm really interested in focusing on how we can create more revenue for the TEC, provide services that are revenue generating, and open to changing conviction voting, but don't have a very strong opinion on it either way right now. And I'll pass to Livia.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, we've been chatting a lot about this the last few days on services, TC utility, and something that came up. First, I wanted to say that I think I realized there was a maturity in this point in the community, because I saw this conversation coming from many people at the same time. So it wasn't like a red flag that one person was lifting, and I feel like everyone stepped up to it. And yeah, second, that we should look into a short-term and a long-term solution. And it feels like the solutions we've been coming up with are looking like medium long-term. And I wonder, how can we focus more on something that is short-term to even make it feasible to focus on the long-term ones? And yeah, maybe it's like about creating a working group, like Griff said, and focusing more on it, like having a group of people that are like 100% thinking about this. And I'll pass to Griff.
Thanks. Yeah, my thoughts on this. First off, it's not like we're not going to run out of money. It's just going to be hard to get money out, right? So the common pool has this magical thing where it will never really run out of money, because it'll just be impossible to pass any proposals. So in some ways we have even less money than we think we have, because it'll just be harder. It'll be really hard to pass things. I don't think that it's like emergency level yet, but I do think we need to solve. We need to get some revenue streams flowing. I hope that there are some opportunities that arise. The easiest one for me to see opportunities for is just making the token more valuable and making the token more in demand. And if we do that, then the whole system is kind of appreciated. Even though it doesn't bring that much more money into the common pool, it actually brings a lot more awareness into us, and also gives the reward system. We do hold a lot of TEC, so that makes the reward system not run out of money as quickly. But yeah, so I would like to see, and also narrowing the band of the augmented bonding curve. It's still at like 20%. Started at 24, but we need to keep passing these proposals and narrow the band so that when volatility hits, we're still generating revenue. But yeah, I actually don't think that it's going to be like a huge problem, but we really, right now, I don't think that like, oh man, we don't have anything, we're screwed, but we do need to get things going and I would say within 3 months have like steady revenue streams besides the augmented bonding curve. And I don't know what they are. We could throw a conference. We can work with the TE Academy. I think they said that I've heard a few projects like Longtail Financial says that they want to buy TEC on the bonding curve. I also think we should try to encourage proposals to hold TEC and actually use the bonding curve when they get money, that they actually hold TEC in there as collateral in their multi-sigs instead of just holding wrapped XDAI. I was really disappointed, like for instance, the NumPy proposal wasn't interested in turning it into TEC after they got the money. That would have been nice, and then we'd have a little bit of regenerative. We spend money, but some money goes back, and it would help. Yeah, and I'll pass it to Wonka.
I think it's super interesting to have all these discussions. I also am happy for the params configuration we chose, because we have like 2 months or 3 months with the common pool and with the bonding curve, and we have 800K. That was one of the common pools that we would have initially with some of the other proposals. So I feel that we made a good decision, and it worked because we had over 1 million in the common pool with all the initial interaction with the bonding curve. So I think until now it's been good. Maybe things will continue developing. Things move really fast. And I think it would be really cool if we can continue like trying that some of the working groups, how can we make them also DAOs and public goods, and how can we also then try to create an economy for their own. At least that's how I am trying to see Gravity. And the other thing is, just to have like a quick parenthesis, last week I published an article from Gravity, but we had some troubles accessing to it. It was very difficult to access the document. So we took it down and we re-uploaded it, and I will be sharing the link. I think this one is good, and just for letting you know, when you have time you can read it. And that's my take. I will pass to Chuy.
Before you pass it on to Shui, Septi, is possible to have the link to this document, or is it shared somewhere?
Actually, it's on the slides from today community call, but I can DM you with it.
Thank you.
It's also in the agenda, right? It's right here.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Thank you. It's also there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wonka. I don't really have an opinion right now, or any like comment that I could contribute with. Yeah, mostly like listening today and yeah, just trying to see how all this like can strengthen or just have a more like clear utility for anything involving communications. So yeah, I'll just pass it to Manu.
Thanks, Chuy. Okay, so for me, I think it's just go back to basics, right? Like, how can we be valuable to our community, and how can we do so in a way that value that we're contributing is stored in TEC, right? And so, I mean, we could have ideas about how to go on about that. I really like the one I suggested previously about having tool engineers on call that can do consulting for projects. I mean, in the end, we can have ideas about what we think will work, But what I've seen that people come to a TC for is to get consulting for their projects. So I think right now there's a need there. I really like doing that for Gravity as well. Like I also see, I think Aragon just started their own umbrella project, Juanca, and so they're doing a Gravity of their own. So perhaps asking for consulting in terms of TC. So just those type of services that only us can provide, at least for now, because we have the infrastructure for it. Ask for TC. So for now, T consulting and Gravity consulting seem like a good choice. They might seem I don't know, like basic suggestions, but I think I'm playing it safe in here for now. So those are my thoughts, and I will pass it to Edu.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I've been taking a look to the document. It's interesting. In this sense, I will say, yeah, the services part of what we can provide. I would like to have action items at the end of these meetings to understand what will be the steps that we could follow or agree upon to do. I think there should be an effort on providing services on one end, and there should be another parallel effort to let the voice out about the DC and the value of the token and all this stuff. I feel like there should be also this effort put onto building certain kind of marketing aspects to what we are doing, so it won't be the same 5 people joining the call and so on. So I feel like there should be a parallel effort on both things, providing the services, but at the same time, letting people know that we actually have services. I think that would be something interesting to see. And just, I don't know if this comes next on the slide, Septi, but I also would like to know, is there any recommendation regarding the budget proposal for the next, for example, Communities will have another one. Or we'll have another one in the next month. So is there any recommendation? Is there anything that we should be aware of, or timeline? I don't know. Just that. And I don't know who is left. So Lauren, maybe?
Thanks, Edu. Yeah. So I have a question though. Like, so if we're talking band on the tributes, like, so we could also just break the flow of like every month we bring it down to 2% and up 4%, whatever, and actually just change it to what we want it to be and what we think would increase arbitrage and actually generating more revenue for the common pool. Also, Sem had an interesting idea in the Giveth forum, because Santi was putting forward a proposal with NFTs, and the idea was what if we minted NFTs in exchange for people sending funds to the common pool? And I was like, oh, we have too much funds in the Giveth common pool anyway. We have too much give in the Giveth common pool anyway. But that would be maybe something that would be cool to do here if we were just I don't know, just for a quick fix spin out of an NFT project where it's you could get a cool token engineering NFT in exchange for sending funds to the common pool. NFTBs kind of launched this thing really quickly and just kind of put something together. And I don't know, it's just kind of an idea. I don't know if we really want to put a lot of resources into doing that, but I think using NFTs and token engineering and kind of finding ways of creating good revenue models using NFTs is actually something that's kind of in line with our mission. It might be cool. And yeah, and then other than that, I think if we started I think the reward system is something that's really in demand by a lot of different communities. And if we could create a system where we help other communities set up their reward systems in exchange for sending funds to the common pool. I haven't really been keeping super close eye on what the long-term roadmap is for the reward system, how we're going to share it with other communities. Maybe it's just a public good and we don't want to charge people for it, but maybe we could actually create a system where we're sharing what we're building and also having it be a win-win situation for for being able to do more with more in the common pool. Yeah, that's all I got. Maybe I'll pass to Enti.
Sure, thanks. So we chatted about this a bit yesterday on SoftGov, and I spent the whole day thinking about that. And I thought for example, if land, if a commons that's a physical commons like a land has to, to keep looking for water and nutrients to grow the grass, and that grass feeds the cows. If the tea sees that land is, and if the cows are the tea projects, I think the tea is facing some sort of fundraising efforts. And I thought, like, and then in that same note, I sort of compared the TC with Gitcoin. Like Gitcoin, like we essentially, I think we sort of make the same, or like the goal is the same. Maybe Gitcoin is in a broader scope, but I thought like maybe the TC could have like a working group dedicated to fundraising, maybe with some sort of um, event every quarter or twice a year or something like that, where I don't know, for example, instead of every single T project going after grants, we could have a shared effort on the TC. And so, for example, Gitcoin, instead of giving a grant to the T Academy, could give a grant to the TC. And then if Gitcoin says like, okay, well, I gave the grant, but I'm pretty interested in the T Academy, they could sort of vote with the TC and make that happen, like sort of some sort of curation method for T projects. And I think that would be an interesting approach. And if by any chance they think the TC isn't doing a great, like I think the interesting part is like if they think the TC isn't doing a good job, they can always get some of the grant back. Um, so I think that there's upside, and there's something cool about offering getting grants in the ABC instead of in particular projects, and letting the grantees sort of curate the projects in the garden. And with that, I'll pass it on to Lily.
Did you say Livy, NT?
Yeah, Libby.
I think
Been already.
Sorry.
Yeah.
yeah, Livy went already. Maybe Zeb?
Yeah, I actually have like I would love to try some food, and I actually like have like I'm on the given house. I have like different like what I would love like like all these solutions we are proposing is like kinda donations, and I don't think like a system. Uh, I mean, I don't think we want to build a system that runs on donations. Like even if we offer a service, uh, if like if this person is doing the service and is sending the money to the common pool, they're kind some like a donation. I would love like if we could fund some token engineers that start thinking on how to build those systems more regenerative. And yeah, like I think like that's like key, because like if and of course like give utility to the token, so there's more ideas to use revenue. Yesterday I was just chatting with Luke from the DAOist, and he was, I mean, we were just rambling. I was just explaining him a little bit what War is trying to do, and then he was like, oh yeah, and we could do also these LPs, and then bridge this with Gnosis money. Then there's more like he was trying to use like a tool that when you use it, like you have, even if you have your liquidity on Uniswap or SushiSwap or wherever, like all the liquidity is mixed. And I think like we should need something like this, like bigger systems that generate the revenue for the system itself, and of course, like the TC token needs to have utility, and then the economy can run until the utility of the token, and then uh, give people a reason to also use TC, but also like exchange TC for stuff, and then also buying TC again so he can get that stuff. Yeah, in my opinion, like we should create like a strong economy, and I would love to fund people who start thinking on that. Smart people that, yeah. I don't know who. And regarding your question, Edu, I really don't think the transparency should say, uh, like I can say my opinion as an individual, but I don't think like transparency should give like his opinion, like how the government should use the money, because that would give transparency too much power, and that's like I feel like these decisions should come from the token holders, and the token holders should decide what do we fund and what we don't fund. Uh, Someone didn't win, or if someone wants to add something after this first round.
Bear, did you want to share any thoughts, or you don't have to, of course, if you don't want to have thoughts to share? Cool, and welcome Nate and welcome Craig. I don't know if you had a chance to look through the financial report that Zeptimus has shared, but he presented it earlier in the call. We just almost everyone has spoken so far. So Nate, do you want to share any thoughts if you have had a chance to go through them?
Yeah, I mean, it's still kind of the same principles that I've been looking at for a little while. We can create a lot of utility for the token, and it definitely helps to bring value to the common pool and to the token itself. However, the entire point of testing out this system is to make sure that the economic engine works, and that means the ABC is generating funds for the common pool in a continuous way. And so for me, that is the number one focus, is how do we get people to interact with the augmented bonding curve all the time. And this goes back to that conversation of like, who is the target audience? If we provide secondary market liquidity on secondary markets, normal Joes like you and me are going to go to the secondary market. We're going to buy TEC tokens. We're going to sell TEC tokens, and none of that is going to be generated on the bonding curve. Most of this activity will happen by people who voluntarily want to pay that small fee or tax to donate to the organization, who are value aligned, which is great. Otherwise, it's going to come from arbitrage. And the spreads on arbitrage are maybe, for it to be profitable, need to be 3 to 4% at minimum. But if we're taking 5% plus, there's no real incentive for anybody to participate in arbitrage, especially on a chain where on the Gnosis chain, where we're only on one market, which is HoneySwap. And so I think if we evaluate the system that we have set up right now, it is not set up for success for generating funds on the bonding curve. And that's something that I think we should really truly evaluate. And because I do think that having a healthy secondary market and having arbitrage be the generator of funds to the common pool is the right way to go. But it takes infrastructure building. It takes getting on multiple exchanges. It takes a lot of different pathways. And I feel like we need to really focus on that area, and then combine that with all the utility that we bring in the long term to the token. I think we'll be set. But this is kind of like, we have to prove that the system works. And that's just my only thoughts on it. I'll pass it back to you, Jim.
And welcome, Craig. I don't know if you want to share some thoughts.
Hi, Tim. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
I'll just say well spoken, Nate. I share many of his opinions. And this is, yeah. Other than that, I really haven't read Zepti's doc, and I'm just behind, so let you guys get back to business. But I love everybody.
Well, and then Ephra, I think you're the only person who hasn't had a chance to talk yet. If you'd like to share some thoughts.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, I think it's really interesting to have this kind of data, of information, of transparency, so we can know like there's room to improve. Yeah, I think, yeah, we definitely have to discuss and make some efforts to improve the revenue we produce here on the TEC. I think the ideas of letting know the people we have services, and maybe the NFTs are great ideas we can explore in the future. Um, I like what Enti said about the fundraising working group. I think that could be something interesting. Like having some dedicated group of people that is making some effort to look for grants, and yeah, I think that could be interesting to explore, yeah, in the future. But we definitely have to, yeah, to come up with some ideas to give the TC up.
Thanks for that, Ephra. I just, well, maybe before, I want to share two more thoughts before I pass it back to you, Zepti. I know before YGG went on vacation, he sent his like, I think I have a great idea for like branding for TEC. It's like Mint TEC, to sort of be a campaign to encourage people to mint TEC. I thought that was a very cute idea. I could see Mint TEC on a t-shirt. And then I just wanted to say, we've brought up this before in talking about how we can increase revenue or look at different revenue streams. And I do like the idea of a financially focused working group who could look at revenue streams, current system, fundraising, just many different aspects and many different possibilities. I think to go to what Edu said, if we need to like have a concrete actionable next step, forming a task force that will turn into a working group, whether it's like one person who wants to spearhead it or two people or three, is probably the most logical next step. Passing back to you, Zep.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I actually want to point out like what Nate was saying, and I think like after like it seems like water is going to pass, so maybe like what we could do. That's something also I was chatting with Pete. That I think he was chatting with Jeff. Like, what if we turn off like the bonding curve, and then people is operating on the secondary markets, but then we have like only the TC could use the common pool for arbitrage. So like even if if a whale sells all of his tokens on Honeyswap, then yeah, the price is going to go down so fast, but then he's actually going to lose a lot of money, and then the commons is going to get all the arbitrage opportunity, and the price is also going to come up again. And I mean, I don't know, like if we like, of course, like it's not a suggestion. What I'm doing is just a thought. Like someone with more knowledge should say like what could be the consequences of doing something like that. But my first thought is like, yeah, like if the commons get the arbitrage, then that's for sure like revenue that's only getting for the commons and not for bots or other kinds of agents.
And I just want to back Zep up on this. This is how banks make money off ETFs. Banks have like a license to be the sole producer of like an ETF stock, right? That, like, let's say it represents gold or silver. JP Morgan runs the silver ETF, right? And when the silver ETF price goes up, they're the only ones authorized to create more ETFs. And so they'll create more ETFs and then just sell them on the market and take that revenue. And they use that revenue to run the actual ETF. And then when the ETF is goes down, they actually will buy ETFs off the open market and then go sell, and then they'll actually sell silver and then buy ETFs off the destroy them, and they make profit off of this volatility, and they're the only ones who get to make profit off the volatility. So it's definitely it's definitely a great way. I mean, if banks are doing it, there's money. So it's a great way. It's a great long midterm solution that we should consider.
And then going back to conviction voting, I mean, I would like to make it a bit harder to pass proposals. It would also be like declare of intentions, like we say, like, okay, it's harder, so be more wise how are you using the budget, because it's very important. I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I feel like, yeah, making just a little bit harder to pass proposals, be like a declaration of intentions, and then we also could use why we're making those harder, and especially like it's because right now our revenue is going down very fast. 800K from the one increase in March is like $800 from the one increase in March. I feel like it's almost zero, and then 2K on February. I mean, for starting commons, it's I feel like it's good, but it's still very low. So yeah, like make the conviction voting a bit harder, and then say why we're doing a bit harder, and then say,
Zep, I think your audio has stopped.
oh no.
Did you finish?
Hello.
Hey, you're back.
I was talking about. Oh, okay. I was just talking about like make conviction voting a bit harder, and it's like would be like a declaration of intentions, like, and then a forum post saying what. I mean, of course, it has to be voted on, but then when you make the proposal, and the reason why is like, yeah, to be more wisely how we using the funds, and then having like because right now like it's seems like little groups of people can pass proposals, like when some TE projects are doing proposals, then the TE community token engineering is passing, and then operations is like the group of and it seems like everyone is passing proposals, which is good, but at the same time, like I would love to see like more uh, connection between the token holders, like uh, okay, we want to pass that, but we also want to pass that, and then all the agents inside the economy agree. And also, yeah, I feel like it would be nice, so we can use the money more wisely. Anyone have an opinion?
Yeah. I mean, even if we do make the conviction voting a little bit more difficult for things to pass, it's still one of those things where I wish there was periods where conviction voting was open and which it was closed, or we had some type of kind of filter on the inputs to the conviction voting, because there's just no way to turn it off and no way to say no, and so accepting that as the fact, it opens it up to consistently being, drained of funds from legitimate projects who are looking to start up, and contribute to our mission. And so it's really hard to say, no, you can't participate in this because we're tapped out. And so this comes back, I guess, back to the funding problem. So I don't think this would be here if we weren't concerned with the funding issues. But since we don't have a consistent, sustainable method yet, I think that this is an issue, and perhaps making it difficult will slow it down, but it still doesn't give us control or the economy any type of control.
Yeah, I think I'm usually pretty against hardening um the threshold for voters to for voters to pass. Because I think the vast majority of times it's more on how do we interact and how, like, maybe the culture of our communities, like, do we even properly discuss, do we even like, we've said a couple of times that asynchronous communication with TC is a problem, So like if I'm not involved in that particular working group and I'm not seeing the 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 process of the proposal, how easy it is for me to just go on the forum and get a nice discussion back and forth on how do the funds are being how do they come up with that budget? Because like you can harden the proposals, but I'll say the stewards working group is going to make a single proposal, so like it's not like I have options to choose from. I'm likely just going to pour my if I think I needed the stewards and maybe I don't agree with the budget, but I'll have to vote on that proposal anyways, you know. So I don't think hardening is probably the best option or the only option to sort of get better budgets on working.
I second that thought. I think conviction voting is great for TE projects, but perhaps operations should not ever flow through that.
I agree to that too.
Where would you see those funds coming from, out of curiosity? What would an alternative method be?
I would just say that a different voting method that allows us to have different signaling and different forms of dissent, where we can actually modify proposals if they're not bad, and proposal creators can pull it down. I think just having the conviction voting, while we can put it up on the forum, you know, getting people who disagree with the type of spending is very hard to, and this is why I kind of like when you have the forum and it's not anonymized, it's very hard to call somebody out, especially when it comes to being paid or like disagreeing with somebody's compensation for their contributions. That's not a really welcome environment to do that in, and so having it, kind of this vote of saying, no, I disagree with that. It could be for a myriad of reasons, but at least starts the conversation. Or in conviction voting, you can either just abstain or just let it be. And so any form of vote that requires or that has a potential for dissent in terms of cultural tensions, I would say leave alone to a different voting method.
You have about 5 minutes left. Zep, is there anything else you want to pose, or do you want to pass around to talk about conviction voting changes? Do you want to propose a change that could be considered?
I mean, yeah, the proposal was to make conviction voting just a little bit harder. With from NP and Nate feedback, it seems like it's not a good idea. I don't know. Like, I also think like what Cliff said, like conviction voting is going to make it harder anyway. Like it's going to be harder anyway. So, yeah, I mean, I actually probably there's not enough time, but I would also love like if someone's like in the presentation sees something like could be improved for the audit presentation or something, like just reach out in DMs. I would actually love any kind of feedback to make this audit way better. This is like the first part of the financial report, but then yeah, like if there's any feedback to prove it, like yeah, thank you.
Okay, welcome Durgadas, welcome Mitch, and welcome Vibe. I think you guys are joining and maybe didn't see the financial presentation. And welcome Stella. It looks like she just jumped into. But we have about 7 minutes left. So I just want to ask, Zepti was suggesting maybe changing the conviction voting parameters. There seemed to be some not support for that. Does anyone want to share a point of support for changing the conviction voting parameters to make it more difficult for proposals to pass? Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, cool. We have 3 minutes left. I'm not sure what the best use of this time is, but maybe open the floor to the people who haven't spoken yet. So Mitch, if you have thoughts you want to share around the conversation was around the financial report that Septimus shared earlier, and then revenue in the TEC. And yeah, you can read some of the notes if you feel like sharing anything about that.
Yeah, sorry, I totally lost track of this meeting, and I apologize. But I've been thinking a lot about financial sustainability for the TEC, and there's a lot of work to be done here because I think we're bleeding cash, if I'm not mistaken. And so for all of this stuff that we're working on in the reward system and the proposal inverter, this is definitely at the top of my mind, how to bring in revenue for the TEC. And I'll leave it there.
Okay, it's great that you say that. Go ahead.
Oh, I just have a quick, like, I mean, I'm not sure about, you know, changing the CV params, but I do think maybe it's worthwhile for us to like have a organization around like redesigning the tributes and like have kind of like a focused, like, let's redesign the tributes, consider like what is the right spread, because like I think like, you know, the incremental decrease that we're doing makes sense, but maybe we actually just want to make it something less. But then I think this requires a little bit of like analysis and like thoughtful consideration. And I don't know, maybe instead of like spending the time redesigning the CV params, we could have like a little param party or async kind of param party where a few people work on proposals for changing the tributes.
Bring back Bolsheviks Gambit.
Prove it, Mitch. Prove it that it's a good idea.
Look at that spread. Look at that spread, Lauren.
Go ahead, Vi. I see you want to say something.
Yeah, I heard what Nate was talking about, and I kind of agree that it's hard to dissent when it's not anonymized. So there is a solution we can try for that. Like we can maybe make a form of sorts that posts on the forum as like an anonymous user, or we could like there's a couple of like plugins for Discourse. I'm pretty sure we could hack one together that just removes people's username for that post and allows people to do that. So we could certainly do things like that. I think that could be a good first step, like asking some more rationale behind the funding. About changing CV parameters, I don't have any hard views about it. But I don't think it's we should right now. I don't think it makes sense.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. We are at the top of the hour. There is an orientation call happening right now in the community hall. If you have some time, please do join it. And yeah, I'll bring this to the Stewards agenda to try to see if we can have a small task force. Starting focused on the finance for the TEC. I think groups like maybe a working group is too much to start with, but certainly we can have a group of people who get started and burgeon into a working group.
And update your slides. Update your slides. Update the slides. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Septimus. That was that was a
Sep.
great presentation. Thanks for hosting this up.
Sep.
Bye.
Bye,
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.